to share your and to see your experiences you made around MT quality assurance. Faiza,
thank you so much.
Stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I'm glad to be here sharing my modest knowledge about MT. I have about 24 years experience in the localization industry, wearing many hats, in my case, many scarves, and working with different positions, founding my own translation company, Translation for All, up to 2020 when I joined Amazon to work with them and have an impact not just with Amazon company but in the industry too. As you mentioned, I'm the senior quality program manager for MT Quality with Amazon, and this presentation is about how to have a quality assurance for MT and how it's needed. And I collected, in my opinion, 8 pillars to start to look at how we can start or create a quality program for MT. So what is machine translation? I'm not going to go to the definition of machine translation because I think Michelle and Sajid, they covered some of them. But in summary, machine translation is a tool, not a substitute. So sometimes we try to educate our clients and our customers that of course, machine translation has improved and it's a really good tool now to use, but their expectation to have a human-like quality will never be expected, at least for now. And I'm talking about some cases where I know the cases that you just saw were all about MT use and then post editing, but here I'm referring to clients and which is increasing demand now for use raw MT and expecting to have a very good quality. Although with my experience using raw MT output, I see that there are very good output. Minimum errors in there, and yet some clients, they are not understanding that machine is a machine, unlike human. They don't understand machines don't understand sentence structure, the complexity of grammar, and all of that. They are challenging, of course, for machine translation, and the challenging again, it goes to grammar, multiple meanings for the same sentence, and machines don't think like human, as I mentioned. So there are some challenges. Post editing will help to overcome these challenges and help in increasing the quality and then train the engine. But for using case of use business for raw MT, that's not the case. Again, as I mentioned, that machine translation is evolving. I remember in 2013, I was in a localization world conference where one of the dear friend and speaker was suggesting that MT in his session is going to be a use case for literature translation, and I was like furious. I'm like, how dare you say that? Yeah, there's no way machine translation is gonna, replace a human translator. And we had a very, fun exchange at that time. And back now, I'm remembering that, and I'm looking at the quality of machine output. I'm really impressed to see the big change, especially as an Arabic speaker. For Arabic, it was really a challenge, and I see now a big improvement. So how do we measure the quality of MT? And as I said, there are many ways do that, and for organization to start adopting machine translation, if it's a company, localization company, or if it is an organization big as Amazon or Microsoft, they do need to have a program, a robust program, quality program assurance in place to make sure that to improve the output of MT and to improve the engine, it needs work on regular basis. So in that, I put up these 8 pillars of MT quality, and we will be discussing that in details for each one. And when I'm saying details, I'm going to touch base of each because I cannot go to the really details of each pillar. But as Sajia, she mentions too, when the first pillar is the quality of MT input. There's a saying in the MT industry, garbage in, garbage out. That's very true. I've seen that myself, experienced that in my work. I've seen when there's an input quality, there's a low quality of the input, how the output is impacted. Custom terminology, this is the second pillar, and then translation memory, and using the parallel data, human evaluation, automated evaluation. Those are all mechanism of measuring the quality of MT, and I'll touch base with the MT metrics. Data analysis, that's after you're done and you need to analyze the data, you extract the data and analyze it to find the error types and how to improve it. And custom model is another way to improve the output for some business cases. And active custom translation, which ACT, which is a feature, is along with the custom terminologies offered by Amazon Translate, the Amazon engine. For the first pillar, I know Sajia, she went through details about that, so I'm just going to go through this rule. I put up 10 rules for MT input, and this I use 2 different sources, but the one that I use is from the cloud's rules, and the cloud stands for controlled language optimized for uniform translation. Was made put by, and I'm gonna try to pronounce the name, Yui or Ui Muji. I apologize for this pronunciation. I think I didn't do very well. But those are the rules that helps to improve the input. And to talk about input, you need to realize that there's 2 kinds of translation. One is inbound and one's outbound. The outbound is for the organization communication with their client or the customers. And this is a controlled, you can control the quality of your input because it's your content. But the outbound is, for example, customers feedback, customers communication with you. Those are the ones it's hard to control. So, but there are other ways to semi-control the output. If you put some rules, if you put some guidelines for the customer to submit their feedback, there are some guidelines I'm working on to create too. So avoid misspelling. I'm going to go through this a little bit fast because Sajid already got them. Keep your sentence short. Third, will use a simple grammatical structure. Use the active voice. Write phrases that you can recycle. Remove needless words. Avoid colloquial cliché phrases. Use the definite article. Repeat nouns instead of pronouns. Don't use abbreviations. MT doesn't like abbreviations. Format message correctly, and they err on the side of formality and politeness for some languages. I'm also the MT co-chair for the MT group with Amazon, where we have all the teams where they interested in using MT are in the group, and we had our first session. And one of the great session that one of our team member presented was her test with improving input quality, and then she showed us the data, how it's changed, and then how she ran the translation again after improving the input, and she showed us the data how really impacted the quality of the output. And I did it myself in one instance. There was an Arabic sentence, a feedback from a customer, and then the output was just gibberish, and the customer was asking what's going on, and I did it myself. I rewrote that sentence, and then the output was just perfect. So it does matter, but unfortunately, when we're dealing with inbound content, you don't have that much control. And for some organization like as big as Amazon, we're dealing with millions and millions of content every day. So there is not the leverage that Sajia was looking at, and her team, they go and filter the input first and look at it for spelling mistakes, for they have this leverage in their team. They can go because the content is limited. For big organizations dealing with millions, everything's automated, comes in, goes out, so you don't have that leverage. But you have the leverage to work with different teams to improve the content right input in the first place. The second pillar is custom terminology, and I think that question was there. I think from Amal was talking about well, with the first test, we don't have glossary or a terminology that we can use. This is a feature is also used by is offered by Amazon Translate, and I'm not promoting for the tool, but those are good features are already offered by Amazon Translate engine. You need custom terminology for cases like for especially organizations that they want to keep the brand names, character names, model names, other unique content, and your client wants to be exactly translated. For example, in Amazon, we have a lot of services and features offered by services and featured products offered by Amazon AWS, which has names like Amazon Family, for example. It's a service. So putting these terms, these services, and in your custom terminology, optimizing it with your engine will tell the engine to translate it in certain ways. For example, as I said, with Amazon, we have the service with AWS, the service names and product names. I'll always don't translate terms, T&T terms. We want to keep it in English, so you can train the engine by doing a custom terminology. Third pillar, translation memory or parallel data. And you can create that by using one of the CAT tools. Of course, you optimize CAT tools to use empty and for creating a creating a TM in the process and using post editing, you are helping, and then using it as a parallel text translation corpus to train the engine and improve the engine is a big help with improving. This is the continuous circle of teaching and training the engine how it should translate a sentence or a phrase. And of course, for the quality, to learn about the quality of how your MT engine is working, you need to have an evaluation, and there are two evaluations. There's human evaluation and automated evaluation. Can be used for automated evaluation. There are many metrics in the market, and some of them are better than the others depending on the engine that you use. And there are some companies who can offer you in their platform more than 3 or 4 metrics that they can run your translation, and then it has all the runs through different metrics, and you have 4 or 5 metrics there, and then you have the human evaluation to choose the best option for you. And some companies use only human judges, or we call it human evaluation, to evaluate their MT. Of course, they cannot do all of it. They will take samples to evaluate. In my team, we use human evaluation for now, and we have 2 judges for each language arc, what we call. And for the MT metrics, the rubric that's used or utilized for human evaluation are adequacy and fluency. And for adequacy, a typical scale used to measure adequacy is based on the question, how much meaning is preserved? For fluency, a typical scale used to measure fluency is based on the question, is the language in the output is fluent? And of course, there are scale, the rank scale from 1 to 5. It's used by some companies. In some organizations, they use MQM score, error rates, and in some the TFQ metrics. So there are many options there, and but these 2 are used. I'm introducing now the style guide and the terminology beside these 2 for my team, because we saw that some customers, they have specific instructions in their style guide, and it has to be reserved. And then when our human evaluators are annotating the errors, they don't have that option for style guide and terminology. So that's what I'm adding to my rubric for my team. The other pillar, 5th pillar, I called it data analysis. This is a necessary step after the human evaluation or your automated evaluation. You extract the data, all the error types, error categories, and then you go to analyze it, and you put them in categories, and you look for trends and for repeated errors, and then you try to see if it's fixable. For example, if it's a term that it is, or a phrase that is not translated accurately, you add it to your custom terminology, and then you run it again, train the engine, and you run it again, you might fix that. If it is, there are other, some times it's an engineering issue where the engineers needs to do something with the engine to fix that issue. And then that's where you find some input errors, and we find input errors a lot because, for example, in our case, associates write blurbs, we call it emails, and they're different level of their English proficiency, and that's the way they write their sentences. It's really impacting the output. So we highlight the input errors, and we talk with the teams and recommend to improve it. So that the data analysis step is a very important step. That's where you look at how the engine, and then analyze it, and you take action items to improve the MT as a result. And in some cases, again, for one of the action items, for example, we find for a language arc, we say, okay, this needs a custom model. And then we take the action to do a custom model for this language arc, for this client business case. And then we run it and see how to improve the engine. And speaking about custom model, and this is something, I think it was one of the questions. If you don't have a direct contact with the MT provider, you cannot do a trained model, because in our case, this is our engine, and we have a direct contact with Amazon Translate team. So we work with them closely, and when we do our custom modeling. But who benefits? When do you decide to have a custom trained machine translation? So for the companies who have historically employed human translation, human translators, and I think I lost it. I don't know how to go back here. Sorry, have historically employed human translators, and they can do custom modeling because they have the leverage of post editing. Firms that deal with client information and other sensitive data, they can use the custom modeling, and companies that already have a wealth of bilingual sentence pairs. That, you know, been in the industry for a long, long time, and some localization companies have millions and billions of words. So they already have a lot of parallel data to use and create a custom model. This is another feature is offered November of 2021 by Amazon Translate team with active custom translation. Again, Amazon Translate, if you're not aware, it's a neural machine translation service that delivers fast, high quality, affordable, and customized language translation. You pay by use as a customer, and the ACT feature is just a new feature now. It gives you greater control and enables you to customize the machine translation output to your needs and preference. ACT produces custom translated output without the need to build and maintain a custom translation model. So within this feature now, you don't need a custom model, which needs a lot of maintenance and needs a lot of updating. But if you activate the custom, the active custom translation with the engine, you don't need to do the custom modeling anymore. And with that, I am done, and it's time for questions.